you say anything nice about me? No. No, is it all constructive criticism, so to
Oh,
speak?
no. It's interesting that that's your go-to assumption. Hey,
Yeah. So here we are, once again.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and it's been a while. And there's been some water under the bridge
Yeah.
for both of us.
February's almost over. That's good.
It blows my mind that here we are in New England and we haven't had a snowfall.
No, we haven't had a real snowstorm yet.
And it's March.
It'll be March next week, yeah. How do you feel about that?
I managed to enjoy each. You know what? I wake up every morning wishing there was snow. The first snowfalls of the winter thrill me. You know, after a while, like in the summer, summer's the only season I don't enjoy. I know there's only 9 of us.
Yeah, right.
I love the spring and the succulence of the light greenness coming out and all of the flowering trees. And I love the fall. Oh my God, I don't know which of the two charges me more. And the winter, the first snowfalls, the silence of it, to watch it at night with floodlights on, or to go to the beach in a snowfall. But the summer, you can have the humidity and the heat.
Well, it's good you live in New England. You probably like it in
That's
Maine
right.
even more.
Well, no.
They have snow right now. They got snow this weekend.
I'm a New York City boy, and I don't know that I could put up with, sacrificing the stimulation for all of that coastline.
There's a lot of coastline.
There's a lot of coastline.
Yeah, and it is beautiful.
I know.
Yeah. A friend of mine is there right now. Sent me a picture. They go snowfall for snowfall. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
So, but it is, you're out there. I mean, you're not close to New York City. There's
No.
Yeah.
Or anybody with that sensibility.
Not really. No. I mean, you got Portland, which has some sensibility, but
Yeah,
the rest
but
of
Portland
the state
is,
pretty rural.
just a stone's throw over the border. That's not really Maine, is it?
Portland?
Yeah.
Well, Portland's southern Maine. It's
Very
not
southern.
it's very southern Maine, and it's not like the rest of the state. You're right.
Right.
The rest of the state is very
It's a
different.
cute little town that appeals to tourists, it seems to me. I've been there.
Yeah, it does. It appeals to tourists. I mean, the whole state, especially is trying to appeal to tourists as much as it
No,
can.
they're not. They don't want to hear about the likes of me up there.
Like the North, you can just stay in Connecticut with your New York friends, have fun.
I don't have too many New York friends anymore. No, certainly not in Connecticut. Been here a long time.
In Connecticut.
Yeah.
Me too. I've been in Connecticut over 20 years.
Yeah.
It's a lot, majority of my life. Or
Well, for the
not
first 10
majority,
years, I
but the
felt like a guest,
majority of my adult life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Me too.
Mhm.
But, I only grew up about 4 years ago. So
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's my whole
I'm
adult
still working
life.
on the growing up part. Yeah. Much to some members of my family's chagrin.
Yeah, but you know what? You can't own their interpretation, man. I've been trying to tell you that in a number of ways. That's their judgment. And we have spent our childhoods attributing to our parents a certain gravity and valence that in their ignorance they asked for but don't deserve. Our parents were happy when we treated them like gods. I was very careful not to make that mistake. understanding the effects that that has on a child. Oh my God, I'm never going to live up to that.
Right. Well, also the effects that it has on them as people too, because then, you know, you're bound to get severely disappointed at some point. If you're putting yourself on a pedestal, right?
Well, you're
No,
not
and
so
then the
much
other
putting
person
yourself on a
is-
pedestal as the child is automatically. After all, you're a fucking giant
Right.
in size.
Yeah.
The world is confusing around you, and they seem to know the answers and behave confidently, even though that's a fucking lie most of the time. And they're protecting you, and most of all, you need them to survive.
Right.
And so you attribute all of these magical things to them that provide comfort for you. And it's very seductive to a parent to, okay, I know what I'm not, and it's really misguided. It's really wrong. Because if your kids grow up knowing that they're the same, that they're a person and you're a person, and that there's no discrete gradient there, you can develop your own confidence. You can challenge authority. You can challenge, you can ask questions. You can, but most kids, certainly in generations before me, never felt permission to do that. And we baby boomers, I think, were a transition generation. Oops, sorry. Is that the Supreme Court? Because I'm expecting a call.
They're gonna bring you in for expert witness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, here we are, nevertheless.
Yeah, here we are, having been dumped into our adulthood by whatever the parenting we got and didn't got, for better or worse. But I think that the two of us in our own ways and from our own very different orientations have had the courage to question and face the shit that makes us insecure at first.
I mean, be still insecure. Yeah.
Well, of
but
course.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you need to know.
Yeah.
When I was your age, I probably could identify in one-to-one correspondence with where you are. And I'm here down the line to report to you from the field, you're peaking, and you just need to trust in yourself and accept today is it.
Yeah.
Today is it.
Today is it. And,
Which alleviates a great deal. You know, my son, both of my sons have gone through very trying times over this COVID business. One is going through some, really self-doubting things now as an attorney, because he always wants to be great, and he is great. He doesn't have the perspective to know two things. One, I think if, these movies and I tried my best, or guys on their deathbed, I did my best, son. No, you didn't. You can't do your best. You did all you could according to who you were in that moment.
right.
You could have always done better.
Given your limitations, you did what you could.
Right.
That's a better way to say it.
Didn't do
Yeah.
your best
Right.
because you could have always done more.
Yeah.
So,
Or you could have
But
done
you-
differently, or whatever.
but you lament that. I mean, so you always say that I could have done my best. But getting back to my point, if I could give it to him, and you can't, if I could give it to you, or you give it to a younger person, you're doing what you're doing. And if you're extrapolating about that, like, catastrophizing about it, like, my son might be doing, or some people might, thinking the worst, if I can't, oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose that. And I'm going to have a reputation. He's great a lot of the time, but that goes out the window in each time you're struggling with something big. And so he's working like a dog to shine, and you're not gonna always be able to shine. And his interpretation of not shining and mine are completely different. His interpretation of not shining is close to the end of the world, and mine is, wow, you're shone before, you're gonna shine again. Move on.
Mhm.
But as a father, I can't give that to him. I can't. That's just fucking words.
Right. Yeah.
You can only,
Do you think you can share with him your stories of when you were not shining, or you were depressed, or
I think
I know that you've
that's
gone
a
through
great
your
way.
own
That's a great way to
stuff.
go.
And sort of
That's
say,
a
you know what,
Great way to go.
I can't give this to you, but I can give you the story of myself, where I was going through my own serious self-doubts and really serious,
And describe them.
and describe them and what they were like, and
Yeah,
why
I
it
think
was
that's
happening.
a great way to go.
And
if they're
and
listening,
you know what? Things changed. You know?
They're always changing.
Right. But I think that can be
But that's
really,
no consolation when you're in it and when you're young. You think, he
I
doesn't
think it
understand.
helps for me
or-
now, because as I think I've shared with you, I feel like I'm going through my own
Yes.
struggles
Yes.
right now, and sort of trying to reorient, rebrand my business a little bit here, and change it over to, or just move it in this direction towards the individual coaching and counseling stuff. And it's a shift, because it's kind of moving away from the identity around yoga to more around the idea of.
But yoga is something you will always be able to use however you apply yourself.
No, I'm gonna still teach yoga. It's just not having yoga and teaching yoga as the sort of primary identity, and two, the primary income making. It's kind of like you're a psychologist, and when people think that, they say, oh, you meet with clients and you work with them, but that's not actually how you make your living. If you're a good portion of your living, right?
Right, I'm a bookmaker and a pimp.
Right, which is awesome, and I really, I kind of envy that. But
well, that's where the money is.
yeah, no, I mean, I don't mean to project, because I don't know that much about the actuality of it. But I know that you do other things professionally that
allow me to sustain seeing patients,
right.
because there's only 24 hours in a day,
Right.
and you can't charge $1 million a
Right.
session.
And that's the same thing with yoga.
Right. Oh, well,
yoga, people will pay $25 max for a yoga class, so,
well, then you need 50,000 people.
you need a lot of people, and you need a lot of classes, and you only have so much time in a day to make that happen. And so it's, and I'm not complaining, because for 15 years I've made it work, but it's not really working anymore for me. And so I need to shift, and that's just hard.
It's hard because you got there by being you, by following what you believed in about you. And now you, in some artificial way, need to change that according to a reinterpretation, which you're giving birth to.
Right. As I like to say, and I've said this in class before, the caterpillar is not very psyched about the chrysalis stage. They're not looking forward to it. They're not enjoying it. There's nothing about that stage that the caterpillar thinks is a good time. And so I'm in a bit of that phase right now.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And but something else is coming out the other side of it, and I just have to keep going and lean into my. I feel actually good about it, in the sense that I do feel like something is being birthed or born or rebirthed or recreated.
Well, you're clear that you need to do it.
Yeah. And when I get the notion of like, I've been suggested like, oh, you should double down, like take on more classes, or or do some more, workshops. I'm like, yeah, no, that doesn't feel right. It just doesn't, I mean, that's basically doubling down on the past. And
Right.
it's not allowing something else, giving energy towards shifting something towards something else.
Right. You need a new lane.
Yeah. And I feel good about that because I also feel good about trying to create something that I can sustain for a while.
Well, it sounds like you've got some traction already.
Yeah, I've hired this group that I'm working with to help me build out a sort of coaching business. So I'm working with them, and it's pushing my buttons, but I think it's making something shifting around. So I feel good about that. And
what would this coaching business provide that you previous?
It's more for me. I mean, the place where I'm really struggle is marketing. Marketing. I kind of suck in marketing. Now, I don't mean to say that projecting.
Well, you're not a marketer.
But I'm not a marketer. I am a content and delivery person. That's what I like working on. And that's what I think I'm pretty good at. And so what I'm not good at is kind of honing my offerings into what do people really want, and then how to communicate that to them in ways which they say, oh, I would like to work on Greg on this thing that I really want. And
how do you identify what people really
want? You can do surveys. You can ask. So I've already started like interviewing some clients that I have already about, well, what is it that's really your challenges are right now? And you start to identify who, like they call it things like avatar clients, like who's your ideal client. Then you basically target your marketing at them.
So you're doing your own marketing research? Hasn't that research been done? Isn't it out there to find out? If you could identify someone who's doing what you're doing and they're doing it successfully, why do you need to duplicate their research and trial and error? Why can't you just go to school on how they did it?
Well, I'm going to school basically on how, once you kind of identify what your client is and what your offering is, and how to get it out there in ways. I mean, this is all part of it. What is it that I'm really good at, and how can I offer it in a way that is going to be helpful to people?
I have to tell you something. And I didn't know this when it was important for me to know this. And I believe now what's important is to think about what your target is and reason backwards from how to get there. Not where am I now, who am I now, what are these clients now, and then go out there and hope that it delivers me to a place that I want to be. You're pretty clear of some of the variables that you want to attain, not the least of which is financial security. So you want to reason backwards from financial security to how you get there. Now, you may have to modify who you are and what you do to maximize getting there without being untrue to yourself, but there's a range within which I'm sure you're comfortable functioning, but you don't know which one will deliver you there if you're starting from, here I am, here are my sensibilities, here's what I'm great at, and see who's going to pay for it. No. Find out who's paying for what and will yourself as comfortably and honestly as you can to fit that hole. So who's making $200,000 a year doing what you're doing? How are they doing that? And what's comfortable for me to match that somehow? Now, I don't know. I'm a firm believer that I know what I know, and I know a great deal about what I don't know. And when I run up against something I don't know, I have to find someone who does know it, and that can be expensive, but it's efficient. So you reason back, and I'll give you the example. I'm a psychologist. When I went to school, I majored in psychology. Why? Well, because I was curious about it, and it was related to philosophy, which I loved, and um, I understood the language of the textbooks. I didn't understand medicine. I didn't understand pre-law. I couldn't do fucking chemistry. So I followed where my strengths were and figured, oh, and I had this picture. Oh, I'll open up an office one day and I'll have patients and I'll make a good living. And so I majored in psychology. Come to find out, you can't be a psychologist without getting a license. Come to find out, you can't get a license unless you go to graduate school and a PhD. Come to find out, you get your fucking PhD, which, by the way, if anyone had told me what a PhD stood for, I wouldn't have gone for it. Doctor of Philosophy. Come on now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's 2023. Who wants to be a doctor of philosophy? Come to find out, okay, I got my PhD. I graduated from Fordham chronologically second out of the, people in my class. Took me 7 years. 7 years out of my fucking life after college. I'm, going to cocktail parties with my friends who are making money, and then, and they're asking me what I'm doing. I'm still in fucking school. It's demoralizing. And there's only one fucking goal at the end of the road, and you're spending 7 years to get that. Okay, so now I got it. Now I can be a psychologist, right? Now you got to get a fucking license. Well, how do you do that? Well, first you have to have the doctorate, check. Then you have to have supervision. Then you got to take a motherfucker of an exam, the first time of which I failed by a point, but F. And so I'm 31 before I start making a living. Now, what I'm saying to you is, if I had reasoned backwards from that, knowing that, I never would have fucking done this. Never. And
so what would you be done with your interest? Like you like psychology.
Yes.
So what would you have done then?
I don't know. I think I would have, the calculus was that it wasn't worth it. Because when you're in college, you're not that, unless you've got some special fucking surgical laser on something, you're flexible. You go to college, your possibilities are a whole rainbow. Then you pick a major and all of a sudden it's this. Okay. And then that gets narrower and narrower. If I had to do it again, with the wisdom I have now, I would have been a science journalist. I read nothing but science. I love it. I know shit, and I could write about it. So, but my point is, to you have to reason backwards from the target, and you have to decide, can you do it, and is it worth it? And I was 31 when I started practice. Listen. Every shrink that you see who's just out of graduate school or 10 years out of graduate school are frauds. Why? Because you can't do this out of a textbook or a classroom or even by supervision. You need to fucking live, and you need to pay attention, and you need, most importantly of all, to care. But there's a lot of people who are doing this because they need to make a living. And so where does that deliver them? Well, they hook patients in, and their motive, yes, is originally to help, but secondarily, as you get on with your life and children, et cetera, you need to keep them paying you. Never see a young shrink.
There you go. Coming from,
I was a fraud for 10 years. Not that I was chasing the dollar so much as I couldn't believe, oh my God, these people are dumping these earth-shaking problems in my lap, and I don't know what the fuck to do about it.
but you learned. I mean, this is how else you gonna learn, right?
Well, that's true. I've said this to my doctors, and they said
they gotta show up so that you can learn.
Right. My medical doctors have told me, yeah, of course. We all were.
Yeah. I mean, when you go, I go in now and you have your 35-year-old emergency medical doctor,
Well,
right?
they were
And-
trained on new, that's new
Yeah.
technology. They know a lot of shit,
They
but
know a lot of stuff. They
yeah,
do. But
but
they're
this
still
is
learning.
human enterprise.
Right.
This is not dermatology.
Mhm.
This is something else. This is, I've said this to you before, and I've said this to you before. This is the single most important element of clinical psychology is empathy. You can't fake it. You need to be able to listen in order to put yourself in another person's shoes because you want to.
Yeah.
There's 18 of us out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like
But my
it's like
point is,
go ahead.
you need to reason backwards from where you want to be
Mhm.
and find ways that you can authentically get there. It's not linear. You're going to have to make compromises, but you can't be dishonest with yourself about it. And you've got plenty of range, freedom to vary. You do. But you can't start from here and think that it's a straight line. You have to start from there and come back to where you are. But that's the whole funnel of shit that you can be choosing all the way. So it's not this, it's
Right.
this.
Right. Well, for instance, I mean, so I need to change things, and
That you know.
So we know that one, and part of that has to do with income and all that kind of stuff. It's
Right.
a big part. So
Big part.
one is okay, dust off your MBA skills, your project management skills.
Exactly.
Go get a job, because there are people who need project managers, right? Now, the other one is I really like, and I can always obviously I'll bring all my experience and skills. with
Right,
me.
that's true. You can go afield and be you and be extremely valuable in on a team.
Right. So, and that's what I say, not unappealing, double negative there. But I
Right.
mean,
In fact,
you
it'd be a unique, not unique, but it'd be a special.
yeah, could be interesting. So that's one avenue. The other avenue is to take what I've been doing with teaching workshops, the retreats, and my work with individuals, and turn it into something that is more, it gives more flexibility and more income, and keep doing those things. And the model that I'm looking at right now is this coaching model in terms of offering a program. So it's almost like you would sign up for a course with me.
Who's the target population?
The target population for what I'm offering is basically kind of overstressed women, basically, because that's who I
So
tend
not
to work with now.
corporate anything, not
Not corporate, it's individuals. It's working with individuals. They could be from like business women, or they could be women who would work part-time.
Yeah, no,
have
I don't
kids,
mean that. I mean,
But it's not corporately, it's targeted at individuals. And you're working with me one-on-one through a course of offering to basically create, how do I prioritize myself in a balanced way that allows for more effective, rewarding, and loving relationships. Because most of the people who I work with, that's their biggest challenge. The biggest challenges that I've heard so far are, I can't seem to prioritize myself, and my relationships are struggling. And so whether it be work or with individuals.
Walk out that door and 9 out of the 10 people you meet will fit that.
Right. But what I realize is the people who seem to want to work with me on this tend to be 50-year-old women, basically. That seems to be the sweet spot.
Have you thought that here on Earth, there's only 24 hours in a day?
Yeah.
So if you're talking about working with individuals, I got to tell you, that's, how much can you make? What can you charge? What is the market?
This group here charges, when they create these coaching programs with people, they charge about $4,000 to $5,000 for a program that lasts 12 weeks.
For a program of what?
12 weeks.
Okay.
So if I had 3 of those come in a month, that means I'd have to have 10 or 12 going on simultaneously, I'm making 15 grand a month, or, 12 to 15.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's
That's
a lot of work.
exhausting.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Think about that.
It could be. That would be talking to 10 to 12 people a week every week. Yeah. Plus you have to get the people. So those are phone calls as well.
It's a lot of what?
That's phone calls as well.
Phone calls?
Yeah.
You have to have them calling you. You can't be calling them.
No, but that's them calling me to get the appointments, but then you gotta get them signed up. So that's phone calls too.
And there's a
Yeah.
transition period during which you're not going to fill your calendar.
Oh yeah, between now and, this is gonna take months to actually get into place, this whole thing.
And you have people who know how to engineer that.
That's who I'm working with, people who've done this for other
Well,
people.
that's huge
Yeah.
because you and I know we can't do
No,
that.
I can't do that.
No,
No,
nor could I.
need a system that is reliable to create the funnel to get the.
That's right. Well, if you have that, then you stay in your comfort zone.
Then I stay in doing what,
What you're choosing to
what
do
I'm choosing to
rather
do.
than have to be nimble and do stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah, or just to try to build on what I've been doing so far. I can take what I've done so far and take it somewhere else, right? I can still teach a yoga class on the weekends, whatever.
I would hike my rates if I were doing that, if I were you. There are people out there, I charge a lot of money, but there are people out there who charge more, who are less credentialed and less experienced. So this is Fairfield County. And it needs to be worth your while to work that hard, given what you're selling. You're not a rookie.
That's true. I've been doing this for a while. I realize now I've been teaching and coaching for almost 40 years.
Well, God damn it.
Yeah. Like since I was 19. That's
There
when I
are
started.
whippersnappers
That's
out
when I
there
started
making
coaching.
more
It was
than
when
you're
I was-
making,
when I was 19 years old.
who aren't as gifted or as talented or know as much as you do. So there are marketing decisions to be made that you and I are uncomfortable making. That's why we delegated.
Yeah, or just don't do it. I think that's been the real. I would say if I've failed at something, hasn't been the content and delivery
No.
aspect. It's been the marketing aspect of my business. I do not have a big enough funnel, a big enough way of I really learned that through the Costa Rica retreat, which is still going to happen, but it's it hasn't gotten the signups that I was expecting, and I realized I do not have a robust enough funnel. It's not, so I've got to get a robust funnel going, and the way this program that I'm working with does it around the coaching, counseling aspect. Like you build a product.
I see.
Once you have this funnel going, I could redirect the funnel to other things. But it has to go to something very specific. That's the thing, and that's what they're saying. Like you're going to offer this offering, put together this offering.
You have to have a stable of people who will follow you.
And then
because it's valuable to them.
When you say, okay, I'm going to Costa Rica now, people are like, I want to be there, right? But this somehow my funnel fell apart this year, and I realized
you fell apart this year.
And then I fell apart. But I have to say, and this is actually maybe the most important thing for me to say about this, is this process of falling apart is not all bad.
Oh no!
It's scary.
Yes.
It is uncertain. I feel like throwing up sometimes. However,
I wish it were otherwise, and here we are.
There's a dissolution process of it.
Dissolution.
It's though you're dissolving, and it's almost like that feeling of like falling back into a pool. There's that kind of fear feeling, but there's also that like like you just.
It's a letting go.
It's a letting go. It's a letting go. It's like I've been rolling the boulder.
When you fall back, when you agree to fall back, whatever comes, you're willing to absorb.
What I sort of feel like, the end of 2023 is going to be way different than the beginning of 2023. That's how I'm sort of feeling. It's like something is going, I'm going to be doing something different, something significantly different. It's not going to be running around Fairfield County teaching yoga classes. That it's not, I mean, I'll be maybe teaching some yoga classes, but that's not going to be my primary thing. I'm not going to be doing that. But something's going to be different. So,
And you've taken the steps.
I've taken a step towards this, and in the meantime,
Yeah, it sounds like you've done some concrete things.
yeah, I mean, I'm working this program. Well, I'm paying for it, so I got to do some
Right.
work. So
Right.
that's the other good thing. I mean, when you start paying people real money, like this is not a cheap thing I'm doing, you start doing the work.
Right.
Because you realize there's a real opportunity cost to this money. This money could be doing something else.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I know what that's like.
Yeah. So you have to follow up and do the work, or else
Yes.
you're just
You
blowing
have to
that
be
money
on,
out the
yeah,
window.
well, you have to be on top of it. And the precursor is you have to mean it. You have to be clear
Yeah.
enough to say, I'm committed.
Right. You have
You
to
can't
really,
just say-
you have to really
You
want
can't just
the
say,
change.
here's a bunch of money, fix
Right,
me.
right. You have to really want the change, because you got one, you're paying, this is, you know, the system that they're teaching me is the same system that
Are
they've used
are
on me.
they in
So-
tune with you and who you are in this?
I've
Do
been,
they
I've
know-
been very impressed actually with them.
Do they understand you? Do they understand
I
what you're looking
I
for?
feel like
What the
they,
change is?
yeah, I feel like they have a pretty good understanding. I mean, it's a bunch of 30-year-olds running this business.
Perfect,
But I have to say,
perfect.
I like them, and I think that they're talented, and
I bet they like you
and
too.
so,
I bet they.
yeah, so
connect with you.
so I've been impressed, you know.
Well, Hey,
and
hey,
so,
business is
yeah,
business,
yeah.
and there's only one way to impress when you're spending money. And that is.
you got to deliver. Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be a return.
Yeah.
That
Right.
makes it worthwhile.
Yeah. So far, I mean, I'm feeling, you know, it's the beginning of the process, so I feel a little overwhelmed. But,
Right.
but I think that's to be expected. And they even
Right.
say you're going to
That
feel
sounds
overwhelmed.
natural to
It's
me.
going to feel like a fire hose, and you're going to be in your own
They
discomfort
said
zone.
that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And,
good.
oh,
That's really good. It means you're
and-
plugged in.
and you're gonna feel that, you know, you're gonna be out, you know, especially when we get to the real marketing part of it, you're gonna feel outside your comfort zone. If you were good at this, you wouldn't be here, you know, so you're gonna feel
Right.
outside your comfort zone.
We're good at this.
Right.
You're good at what you do.
Yeah.
And we're good at what we do. That's the point.
And they're basically
What
gonna,
do they think of your idea of where you want to go? Do they think this is going to be is going to satisfy you in terms of income and et cetera?
well, they also have a scalable model of coaching, which involves.
No kidding.
Yeah,
So,
so.
they've done this before.
Yeah, they've created this. I mean, I'm
I just-
in their program now, which is this program. They're basically showing me how to build the program that they have now. And they get people, I mean,
Have they demonstrated to you that it works?
they've demonstrated me that they've got quite a few people in the program. I mean, there are like 100 people in the program right now.
So did
with me.
Madoff.
And yeah, exactly. Now, this could be like, we could be meeting here, honestly, this summer, and I could say, wow, that was quite an experiment. And
Yeah, boy, they
I
took
thought
advantage
that,
of me.
that could happen. But I got to tell you, if it is happening, it's happening with a lot of sincerity.
Here's the-
Meaning
here's
they are
the great
fucking
thing.
really good
Here's the
con
great thing.
artists.
You pulled- you
And there's a
pulled-
bunch of them.
You
you know,
pulled the trigger,
So,
you took the
right.
leap of faith,
Yeah.
and
I mean, it's like 4 guys who basically run this company, and I've appreciated all of them so far. And I'm like, if they're pulling off a scam, they are fucking really talented, you know. And so,
I can't.
and there's
imagine
4
that.
30-year-olds, like, how can they be that fucking talented?
There's not,
So-
listen, I
They
can
believe
understand
this-
Madoff doing it
they-
because
yeah.
he had $50 billion.
Right.
These guys aren't cheating you out of whatever thousands that,
Yeah.
that, you know, so that's not what.
You know, yeah, it's you know, it's several thousands of dollars, but again, recoverable. And so, meaning like, I'll get over it if it doesn't work, but it's a real commitment on my part. And
it's exciting. And
it's
here's
new,
the
yeah.
thing, from my perspective, if I were a psychologist, I would identify with the idea that you've been unhappy and stuck, and you have finally done something.
You made a
And
decision.
the doing of something
Right.
is therapeutic in and of itself.
Oh yeah, I'm way better than I was a few weeks ago. Let's put it that way. A few weeks ago, I was wondering what to do. Now I've made a choice as to what I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to work this program as hard as I can and see what comes out the other side.
Well, you want you
And
don't
something
want to
will come
do
out
it
the other side.
solitarily. You want to collaborate with them. Here's what I'm
Right.
doing. This is
Well, there
what
also
are you
there's a
thinking?
group. I mean, as I said, there's like 100 people in the group, and
Trying
you
to,
do these.
you mean in your shoes?
There are like
clients?
100 clients, and they do and
Do you cross fertilize?
yeah. So they
You
have these.
do?
Oh yeah, you have these meetings.
Aren't you competing?
No, because they're doing other things. They're creating
Oh.
coaching programs. I mean, some of them are, but they're
So like it's a
like,
gigantic
most of them.
support
I
group.
would say half of them or a third of them are doing some kind of financial coaching. Like that's a big industry now, like how to help people make $1 million, that kind of thing. You know, and so, but they're actually. I mean, the thing that's been encouraging is these are the other clients. These are the other people who've also put up thousands of dollars to be in this program, and I'm like, I kind of like these people too. Like these people are actually they're pretty interesting and committed to trying to like you know.
News for you.
So I'm
There's
like,
an interface between those people and what you do. You can provide service to them to teach them how to access their the humanistic part of business that they never learned at a business school.
right.
You know.
Yeah, no, there's a lot that I mean, I'm learning from them. I like the people in the group. They're not like too woo-woo and they're not too serious. I mean, it's like they're actually pretty like interesting
Wow, it sounds
people
like you found a
that are
great.
trying really hard to change
How'd you
their
find these
trajectory.
people?
I actually found this guy on the social media, and because he does a
No
lot on
kidding.
social media. The guy who's the head
How did you
person.
reach out to find him?
It's so easy on social media now. You just click on a button and you follow up, and they say you want to call, we'll make a call. They take a little survey of what you're doing. I mean, and then they have very good. I mean, the other thing is they had this really good 30-something-year-old guy salesperson who I
Right.
talked to like 3 times, and he was really freaking good. And I got to say, if you're
He
a
understood you
and I even
immediately.
told him, I said at the end, I said, listen, I got to hand it to you. You've been really
Smooth
well,
as glass.
you have been one of the best. I mean, it's like 30, young 30s, I mean, I was like, you really were good. You followed up with me, you were consistent, you didn't push too hard, but you kept answering my questions. I emailed him a whole bunch of pretty complicated questions. Came back to me like the next day. I was like,
Yeah,
this
that's
guy
a hungry
this
kid.
guy is on it, and I was like, if this guy is representative of the company behind him, who trained him, then I'm like, okay, there's something going on here. I'm just gonna give it a shot.
I'm taking a shot.
I'm gonna take a shot.
Sounds great to me.
So we'll see. I'll let you know how it goes. But I'm ready for
You're
something.
gonna do
different.
your part.
I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna, I'm diving in and seeing. where
And
it
that
takes us.
is why you feel better, because you're doing something.
Right.
We've always talked about, there's no change without doing.
I
Have to
also,
do
I
something.
actually, I mean, I realize I am a coach and I am a teacher, but I respond well to coaching and teaching. If I have
You
respect,
believe in what it does.
if I have respect for the people teaching and coaching me, I will go through hell and high water. for
That's a
those
great
people.
lesson.
And
That's a
if
great.
I lose respect, it's a little bit, it's not so good.
Well, you're always gonna have an asshole or two that's gonna.
But if I respect the people teaching me and coaching me, I am very
Tenacious.
obedient. I am like, I mean, I will just like do what they say.
Well, you're trusting.
I'm trusting because I realize I want to get out of, listen, I recognized it. I learned this a long time ago. This is a good story. I think I told you before, but
Shoot.
when I was coaching rowing,
Yes.
I took a course once, or I took a seminar basically, and it was taught by the sports psychologist. And he said, the one thing I remember from it, he said, when you're working with your athletes, you want to focus on their strengths and manage around their weaknesses. And I remember that, especially like in team environments, like you don't have to make everybody the perfect basketball player. You just have to make them like a perfect point guard, or like you got all, and you don't even have to focus overly on them because you have these other athletes that if they get better can overcompensate for whatever that person's strengths are. So stop trying to get that one person to do that one thing right that they don't like doing anyways.
Or that
Focus
they're not
on
as
their,
good at.
right. Focus on their strengths and manage around their weaknesses. And I realized that is a philosophy for life right there. For everybody, your parents, your siblings, your lover, everybody you can think of. Focus on their strengths, and I really try to do this with people. Focus on their strengths, and just don't worry too much about their weaknesses, unless it's something really like this is going to be detrimental. You're doing too much drugs or something, like, okay, we gotta pay attention to this issue, otherwise, like, just let it go. But I also realize it works with teachers as well. So I remember when I got to be an athlete, I was a pretty serious athlete for a while. You're not going to get everything from your teacher. So you actually have to get their strengths. What is this? So I'm actually pretty good at, with my teacher, saying, what is it this person's really good at? And I'm just going to glean that out. And if they're not so good or not so over here, like, okay, I'll find somebody else to do that, and, or I'll do it myself or whatever. And that was a great lesson, because I remember people like to sometimes complain about their teachers or their leaders. And I'm like, yeah, there's no point. Just don't even bother. Like, just focus on what their strengths are and take those strengths. And so that's what I'm trying to do with this course, is like, these guys are pretty good at this, it seems like. And so I'm just going to try to learn as much as I can.
Well, you trust them, you took the leap, and now you're going to do your part and see where you wind up.
Yeah.
It's about time.
It's about time for, the other thing, this is the other part of it, is I've had to get over feelings of failure. And feelings of failure, like around
feelings of failure.
Feelings of failure around my business model and what I'm doing, and that it's not working, and so I feel like I'm failing. And then I realized, wait a second, I've been almost a full-time yoga teacher. Like, I've done some other things along the way too, but for like 16 years, I'm like, and I've traveled around the world teaching yoga. I'm like, that's a pretty good run. 15 years of like teaching yoga, going around the world teaching yoga. So now it's like, okay, yeah, something is next. I'll take that experience with me, what I've learned and all the experiences, and I'll say, all right, what is next? How do I take this?
Here's the thing about,
and that's actually a really good feeling, that feeling, because it's like something's next, something else.
So what you have done was to reframe what you thought felt like failure, to identify the parts of it that were,
but also just extraordinary.
Golden.
I mean, I've had an amazing run of experiences over the last 15 years, and really grown a lot and seen a lot of the world, all through basically teaching yoga and meditation. So it's like, okay, this is great. What's next?
that points to something I think that's very important. When we think we have failed, what we need to understand, and what you're implying you understood, is we have defined what failure was to us. And if we're free to define what it is, we're also free to modify and define what it isn't. And what we find is that we're often really hard on ourselves when we say we failed something. That's usually an absolute, but you can fail to reach, the pinnacle, but that doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater about all the stuff that you accomplished to get near the pinnacle, or even if you only get halfway.
Right.
What we concentrate on, and what my son is concentrating
I was just thinking
on,
about your son in this conversation.
is, holy shit, I didn't get to the pinnacle.
Right.
But you did get there.
Right.
And if you get there, there are times you'll get there, and there are times you get here, and times you get there. But for you to wring your hands over, beat yourself up over, lose sleep over only getting halfway without appreciating, wow, I got this far.
Mm-hmm.
That's something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you've just described is exactly, if you could bottle that, you could sell it. what you
Yeah,
were able
I mean,
to
I
do.
think it is being able to see that, how was it, like, our failures are not really failures, they're just experiences, really, you know, and they're not even, they're just an
That's a
interpretation.
good way to put it.
You know, they're just an interpretation of things. You
Right.
know?
And a lot of us tend to
there's-
interpret, to catastrophize.
right.
A lot of us tend
There's so
to,
much that's
be
out of,
hard on
out of
ourselves.
our control, you know, I mean,
Well.
so much that's out of our control. And we're just, and we are, I mean, we talked about whether we're doing the best we can. We are doing the best to sort of interpret things and, you know, move forward, make choices. And sometimes those choices work out great. And sometimes there are consequences of those choices that
Unforeseen,
that are unforeseen
unforeseeable.
and don't work out great. And, you know, with all kinds of good intentions, you know, and then things can kind of, like, they can kind of snowball a little bit in directions, whether they go well or not so well sometimes. And we just can't always control.
Well, we're
those
the
things.
pilots of that ship, I think, a lot. You know, if something doesn't go well and it starts to cascade in negative ways, we have a hand in permitting that, I think. I think you know, I see a lot of people in here who are their own, I find myself needing to declare, you know, you're your own worst enemy. I say that a lot in here.
Really? How do
Yeah.
people take that?
Oh,
Do they recognize it right away? Because some
I
people
think
can take
that- I
offense at
think-
that.
I
I'm my
think
own worst enemy.
it's comforting to
Yeah.
them to hear that, because what it's saying is my interpretation, and they're coming to me because they're attributing to me, you know, good wisdoms. So if I'm saying they're being hard on themselves, the translation that I'm sure that they picture is, first of all, they recognize it. Yeah, that sounds right. And second of all, it means that how they're thinking about this isn't as bad as it really is, because she sees the truth a little more clearly and objectively, and I'm only cherry picking the shit that's keeping me down.
Mhm.
I think they see. I don't think they see all that.
So
I
when
think
you
that
say-
they are relieved when they hear that.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe that strongly.
So they're saying it when they're feeling self-deprecating. You're saying they're
Right.
as opposed to as
Self-defeating or
opposed to
catastrophizing.
when you said, you know, you're your own worst enemy, that you're the one fucking up this program, not something else. You see what I mean?
Yes, I do see what you mean.
You know, and that could be
No,
a
I'm
little
not
harsh.
talking. I'm not talking about
Right.
real life outcomes. I'm talking about how their interpretations screen out anything except how hard they should be on themselves.
Right.
This is an
Okay.
internal.
Right.
This is an internal interpretation
Right.
that is cognitively inaccurate.
Yeah. I said, you know, like it would be my saying, I had a client once who was complaining about their family not coming to visit her. And this person has a tendency towards negativism, which was extreme, right? So if I said to her, well, you know, you're your own worst enemy here, that probably wouldn't have been helpful. to
No,
her,
I think
you know,
that's-
because
I
which
think
was
that's
to some extent
very
true.
sensitive of you.
Right, it was true that she was her own worst enemy in this particular situation, because her family didn't want to hang around her because
Yeah,
she had an
I'm
overly
a-
negative outlook on everything.
I'm only talking
And-
about how
right.
people interpret,
Right.
you know,
When
the
there's
meaning
meaning.
to them.
Right.
For you to bust somebody about that truth, if they're not ready to handle
That
it,
wouldn't
it's
have been helpful.
destructive.
Right, I agree. That would have been mean.
Me,
Right, it would have been mean if I had said that. So that's what I was.
but there are ways to get to that, though. I mean, you know.
There are ways-
What do you think
okay.
that outcome is?
Yeah. No, there are other ways to get to self-realization.
Right.
Try not to use meanness as one of them if you can help it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's another truism right there is, you know, getting people to self-realization through meanness or coercion or manipulation does not work very well. Okay. I mean, it works in the short run, but it's not worked in the long run.
And if you're, and
It's
if
not
you're
loving.
being,
It's not loving. That's the thing. I've been doing this
oh, I
study
have
of
something
love.
for you about
Yeah.
loving.
Okay, good.
It's I'm reading this book by Tim Ferriss, and there's a couple of pages in there that really rocked me. I made copies for people who I know would appreciate it. You're among them. I want you to see that, and then I want you to let me know what you think.
Yeah.
It's a very easy exercise. May have even occurred to you, but it seems brilliant to me about loving kindness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we gotta stop. No,
Yeah.
don't.
I think we
People
gotta
aren't-
stop.
People aren't gonna watch more than an hour.
You're bored already, especially because you had that little preamble from Norman
Well, if you
about how don't pay attention to anything I have to say. Yeah, that's what he-
why don't you watch it and see what I said?
I'm going to. All right, let's wrap it up. Norman, thank you again.
I love you.
I love you too, and I'm so grateful for you. And I'm grateful
Yeah.
for you as well.
Yeah.
Thanks if you made it this far. You're incredible. You're awesome.
Maybe
Right.
we should
Don't
tell them
forget.
how to reach us, because I have to say, I don't know why you're watching or why you would get this far in watching this or any of the others we did. But if you think either one of us can be helpful to you, that's what we do. That feeds us to be helpful. Us being helpful is a gift to us. So let me tell you how you reach me. And it's best by my cell, so you can text or call. 917-744-0100. Norman Klein.
There you go. And you can reach me, Greg Barringer, and my website is probably best, souljourneys.net.
Soul Journeys plural.
souljourneys.net, or you look up me, Greg Barringer.
And
It's all on the internet there, and you can find me. And
Yeah,
my
that's
contact information is right on my website. And
mine
and stuff.
mine is Norman Klein, PhD.com, and Klein is spelled Klein. And that's even a better idea. There's other ways to reach me.
Yeah, you can find out more about us too, in both those places.
Oh, that's true too.
right. Yeah, because we do stuff. Yeah, we make things happen. Especially him. He makes a lot happen.
Bye.
Lots of love.
Okay.